What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Light and Lamp Podcast. I'm here with Steve,
Hello.
and this is going to be our All-Star Weekend podcast. As of recording this, it's about 5:40 on February 4th, so we're recording this before the skills competition and whatnot, which means you guys will probably be hearing this tomorrow afternoon before the games, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, we're going to talk about the All-Star game, the teams, maybe some snubs, and also just kind of in general what we think about it, and then maybe we'll talk about ways we think it could be improved, stuff along those lines and whatnot. I like that I can still buy tickets to the All-Star game, by the way. I'm still offered tickets when I click on.
Yeah, as if, you know, it's not tomorrow.
As if, like, yeah, the skills comp isn't happening, like, right now, and, like, you know. So let's start this podcast off with, like, a little bit of I guess we'll talk about the teams and whatnot. And I do want to ask, because something interesting kind of happened where Ovechkin got put into COVID protocol the game before they were supposed to go on the All-Star break, so he's being replaced. And Adam Fox was also replaced with a forward for some reason. So the Metro only have two defensemen on their roster, which is kind of weird, but
Yeah, the way I thought the replacements worked always was like you replaced a player with a player of like the same position. But I guess they're just trying to make a certain roster number and not necessarily. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's the All-Star game. It doesn't really matter, especially in a 3-on-3 format, whether you're a defenseman or a forward, because everybody's just expected to play offense anyway.
right.
But it is still kind of weird that they replace Adam Fox as a forward and not another defenseman, because there are defensemen that aren't obviously on the roster that deserved to be on the roster maybe.
Yeah, so we'll start in the Metro. The captain is Claude Giroux, who is replacing
Also
Ovechkin, who is the
Ovechkin.
captain. So we have Claude Giroux, Sebastian Aho, Jake Gensel, Jack Hughes, Evgeny Kuznetsov, who is the one that replaced Adam Fox for some reason. Chris Kreider, Tom Wilson, who is the one that replaced Ovechkin, Adam Pelech, Zach Werenski, and Freddie Anderson and Tristan Jarry for the goalies. First off, I mean, no disrespect to, uh, the goaltenders that they picked, but I think Shesterkin probably should have been here,
I mean,
honestly.
I see. So at the risk of not sounding like a hometowner, right? I agree with you. I think Shesterkin's having a year that's all-star worthy. But with the Rangers already having, what was it, three all-stars on the roster with Mika Zibanejad making it in from the last man in vote, in addition to Adam Fox and Chris Kreider. So like I could see them saying, okay, we don't want to put a Ranger goaltender in, but like at that point, why don't you put Ilya Sorokin in, who's literally been like the lifeline for the Islanders this entire season? I mean, granted, maybe his record's not amazing and his numbers aren't like amazing, but when you look at what he's doing with like the strength of the team he's had and the hand he's been dealt this year, I mean, come on. Some nights it's the only reason the Islanders even win games or are in games is because of Ilya Sorokin, you know?
I mean, Jari's stats, he has a 9.23 and a 2.21. Sorokin has a 9.24 and a 2.31. So, like, they're pretty much the same. I mean, Freddie Anderson's just, like, having a ridiculous series at a
Yeah, I mean, like
9.29 and a 2.01. So, like, I'm not arguing
Freddie
against him at all.
Anderson, it's amazing that remember all the Toronto fans saying Freddie was washed and those injuries did him in, and it's almost like wow, no, when you actually put a competent team in front of him and he's not facing almost 60 shots a night, what he can do, amazing. So yeah, I mean, obviously Freddie deserves to be here. There's no like arguing against Freddie Anderson being here unless you have like a rock for a brain, you know. But I feel like Jari being here, I mean, I get it. It is a good. He's having a good year. But I don't know if it's. I mean, isn't Sidney Crosby in the? Oh no, Sidney Crosby's in the All Star game. Jane Getzel's their representative up front. But I mean, I don't know. I just think there are other goaltenders who probably should. I mean, even the Columbus goaltenders are having a hell of a year. Is it Elvis that's starting for them? I think now. So like, there are other options. I think because to be honest with you, Jari's numbers are good, but I don't think he's the reason. You know, like he's not the factor in these games
Right.
that the Penguins are playing. They're playing really well as a team, and like with a diminished roster, that's impressive. But when you have a team up front is boasting Kasperi Kapanen, Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, and Jake Gensel every night, I'm not really surprised that your team is winning games when a team like the Islanders, who's significantly more talent deficient. I mean, realistically, the only skill guy, like through and through skill guy they have on the roster is Matt Barzal, you know? So, like, Sorokin's job is tougher considering that the Islanders play they rely on him more. They need him to play well in order to even think of winning a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
for him to have, and again, like his record's not great. He's probably hovering around 500, but like to have the numbers he's having on a team that isn't winning games is incredible because it's meaning these games are close. Like he's keeping them in these games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Jari is currently 23-8-6, Sorokin 13-8-5. I mean, look, for what it's worth, Jari's played 11 more games. Like Sorokin's only played 26 to this point in the year because they've been going back and forth with each other. But Freddie Anderson, and also just because the Islanders' schedule, right? Like they
Yeah.
played among the least played games in the NHL. But I mean, I get why Jari's here. I'm not taking anything away from him, but if you, and we know at this point that the All Star Game's not really
The
it is the All
All-Star
Star
game.
game, but like with like an asterisk next to it because like every team needs a participant and like they balance out the number of players on
Yeah.
a team, which like I understand, but I don't know.
Well, I
I
mean,
mean,
but yeah, I don't know.
like
It just feels weird to me because it always feels like the Islanders never get the recognition that they deserve, Specifically, like, in the Barry Trotz years lately, because it's consistently Matt Barzal is usually the representative, even though this year it isn't. I mean, the last 2 years he's been their All-Star representative, so it just feels like the league isn't rewarding guys who realistically should be rewarded sometimes. Like, I feel like Ryan Pollock should have at least been an All-Star at least once, you know? Uh, it's just they always favor obviously like offensive production at the All-Star game because it is supposed to be an event. It's exciting, but it almost feels like they don't. To your point, right? You say like they said they try to balance it, the amount of forwards to like defensemen, but like it seems they don't ever try to balance it in terms of like the I guess the overall like propping up they do. Like it feels like they're always propping up like these offensive players and they're never giving like the due to the defensive guys who, realistically do just as hard a job, if not a harder job than these offensive players do. Like a guy like Jacob Slavin is never going to be an all-star, you know, unless Carolina's absolutely terrible like they used to be and Jacob Slavin's their best player and he's just the automatic nom. But with a guy like Sebastian Aho or Svechnikov on the roster, a guy like Slavin, who's, in my opinion, a top 5 defenseman in the NHL, is never going to be an all-star. And it's kind of jank, you know?
yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, right? Where I mean, sure, this year, Adam Pelech is got the nod, which I'm really, really happy for him. Like, he deserves it. He's arguably like a top 3 defenseman in the NHL. And I think that Matt Barzal kind of having a slow start to the year kind of led them to maybe look in Pelech's direction a little bit more. So, like, they are kind of rewarding the defensive guys. But in general, obviously, like you said, it's supposed to be like a spectacle. People want to see goals and stuff. But at the end of the day, I think we need to kind of recognize that, you know, there's two sides of the puck, and the defensive guys maybe should get a little bit more of a nod, in terms of recognition. Although, the other argument. Here's my
I
problem
mean,
with it, right? My problem with the All Star argument of, well, they're not putting up points, so they're not really one of the best players in the league, is that the All Star game format as it currently sits isn't the best players in the league anyway, right?
no.
Like, if the All Star format was just simply the best players in the NHL went, regardless of how many players per team went, I would appreciate that argument. But okay, fair enough. You have like these loaded rosters, all these guys are going, right?
Yeah.
But if the way the format is now, with everybody needing a representative, and on top of having like such small teams because it's broken up by division, you can't really even make that argument anymore. Like, so why are we not putting up, like, propping up these guys that are,
They deserve it, really.
Yeah, like the format as it stands isn't really the best of the best. You could really argue.
I mean, I'm sure we'll get into that later in the episode, but
Yeah, so
that's kind of like, yeah, I just think, I mean, realistically, I mean, the conversation on the All-Star game for the last, what, decade and a half has been like, how do we make it more entertaining, but also more, less of a joke, right? Like, you're not getting these like 15 to 14 games where like guys literally are sandbagging for 60 minutes. And I think like realistically, if you wanted to make a game more competitive, you get some of these defensive guys into the lineup, and like obviously they're not going to be going full bore, but it's like just them being there and playing at like their game that they're that they're playing the game that got them there, meaning like their defensive side of the puck, would force the offensive players to have to elevate themselves and actually put on a show. You know what I mean? Like they'd actually have to be like, oh, okay, I have to overcome a defender, even though he's not like checking me like he is in a regular game, and he's not like really going at it. I still have to do something other than just skate around him, you know?
it's like trying to force the cross crease pass against Adam Pellick is very different than trying to force a cross crease pass against
Crystal Tang.
Like Eric Carlson or Crystal
Yeah,
Tang.
exactly.
Um, so yeah, so that's the Metro. That was like really my only note. I think like the big snub, really, in my opinion, was Shesterkin. The Atlantic Division, we have these lists for some reason
Is it the one
don't
on the NHL
have the
website?
last man in results, which is really freaking
Well,
annoying.
because the NHL did this amazing thing where they published the All-Star rosters first in like that article. I guess it was what, a couple weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And then they did the last man in voting for like the following week or 2 weeks, whatever it was, and then announced that separately. So it's like, and they never like put out another article saying like, here's the whole All-Star roster. So like you have to like dig to find them. It's really frustrating this year because I have the same
Rangers
problem.
forward Mika Zibanejad won the fan vote but cannot attend because of personal reasons. I actually didn't even
Yeah,
know that. That's
yeah, no, he's
rough.
not going. So I don't
Okay,
know who they got to replace him, but
Gensel. It looks
oh,
like.
okay.
Okay,
Oh,
so
so
this
Tristan
is the
Jarry was
full
the
list.
only Penguins representative? Interesting.
Okay, so Atlantic Division, we have Drake Batherson, Patrice Bergeron, um, where were you? Oh, sorry, Patrice Bergeron, Jonathan Huberdeau, Dylan Larkin, Austin Matthews, who is the captain, Steven Stamkos, Nick Suzuki, Brady Tkachuk, who is replacing Drake Batherson, who was injured when Aaron Dell decided to lose his goddamn brain, Rasmus Dahlin, Victor Hedman, Jack Campbell, and Andre Vasilevsky. Um, I think it's fine. I mean, again, realistically, should Nick Suzuki be here? Probably not.
And
Um,
realistically, should any Montreal Canadian really be here?
27 points in 44 games. But
I mean, yeah, it's rough. It's like I was saying before. It's like when the worst team in the league has to send somebody, and they have to send their best player. I mean, like, what other? I mean, in past years, Montreal's been bad. What was it? Usually Shea Weber, right? Because they were like, well, at least we can get the hardest shot competition out of him.
you'd send Shea Weber or Carey Price, right? Because it's like
Yeah,
nobody's going to say no to watching Carey Price, and everyone knows how good he is on paper, right? But I guess that's kind of the logic they went in this year. Like, who's our best skill player on paper? We're just going to send Nick Suzuki. So I guess if you had to pick one Montreal Canadian to send, he would be the one that I would pick too.
I still feel like I got like Brendan Gallagher might have been a better pick for them though, just because like he's the life, like the heart and soul of that team. You know.
He'd be good content for them. If you put a mic on that guy.
I mean, yeah, he's always. I mean, his he's always running his mouth, and like it would also bring something different to the All-Star game, like it's not like I said before, it's not like these some of these other guys haven't had the success that these other quote unquote All-Stars are having or have had, you know. So it's like I don't understand. Brendan Gallagher is like what, a 3 or 4 time 30 goal scorer, like he's led the Montreal Canadiens in goal scoring like every year since like pretty much since Max Pacioretty decided he didn't want to play anymore, you know. So like it's a guy that's given everything for a franchise that's going nowhere every single night. And I just feel like it'd be nice to see him rewarded for it finally.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially when a guy like Ryan Suzuki's got his whole career in front of him, or Nick Suzuki, right?
yeah,
Has his whole career in front of him, and like realistically, if he develops the way that he looks like he can, like he's going to be an all-star on his own merit anyway. So why pin the participation ribbon on the kid instead of giving a guy like essentially a lifetime achievement award of saying like, hey, during your prime when you were doing these things, maybe you didn't get the recognition, but we realize that now, and hey, like here's your chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially because uh, the realistically, if you're going to have to send anybody, right? If again we're not doing this based on just pure skill, if we're just sending anyone on the Montreal Canadiens because they have to send somebody, at that point, why not just give it to a guy who deserves it? Like
Right.
for not only not specifically his production this year, but like what he's done. It's kind of like when Zdeno Chara won his Norris Trophy. He had a great year that year, but he had plenty of years that were better. They were just like, look, we've got to give it to this guy. Like he's just been too good for too long. We keep screwing him over.
Look at
Like
the same thing with the Drew Doughty one. When Drew Doughty won his Norris Trophy in what was it, 2016 or 2015? I mean, the league announcement, or like the press release that they read out after he won the award, essentially said as much. It's like for exceptional play over the course of the better part of the last decade, blah blah blah. The Norris Trophy is awarded to Drew Doughty, and it's like okay, but I have a problem when that happens with awards because like those are a year to year thing, but whatever. But in terms of an All Star game where realistically nothing is on the line and it doesn't fucking matter, why not reward a guy? You know,
yeah,
especially a guy that like fans love. Like Montreal Canadiens fans love Brendan Gallagher. Like he's exactly the kind of player that like they that you want. That he's exactly the kind of player that fans love to watch. You know what I mean? He's in the All Star game. He's not going to be playing the same way he plays in a regular season game, obviously. But like he's still going to probably mix it up. He's probably still going to get maybe a little physical. It might be like when we saw John Scott, quote unquote, fight Patrick Kane, but it'll bring like something different to the game that's a little more fun than just guys skating up and down the ice at 25 miles an hour and just ripping it short side over and over again. Because that's really all it is. Because it's like, oh well, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are on a 2-on-0 against literally any goaltender. It doesn't matter. It's a goal, and that's the All Star game in a nutshell.
yeah. I mean, I will say as far as the Atlantic Division goes, I'm really glad that Rasmus Dahlin is finally kind of getting the acknowledgement he deserves. Now, granted, look, a large reason, part of the reason is because Jack Eichel's just not there. But it's just funny to me that like we've heard all this nonsense about Dahlin like being a bust and he's not good enough, et cetera, et cetera. And like here he comes, 28 points in 44 games for a defenseman, minus 14, but we'll overlook that he plays on Buffalo. Um, I'm just glad that he's finally getting his nod. It sucks that Drake Batherson is going to miss this because he really deserves it. Not to say that
Yeah.
Brady Tkachuk doesn't deserve it. Obviously, Brady Tkachuk's one of the best players in the NHL, but just to have you get knocked out by such a stupid, boneheaded play
And the other thing too is like
just
Brady
sucks.
Tkachuk. The other thing too is like Brady Tkachuk is such a big piece of that team. There's almost no way, especially like with how good that team is supposed to be, supposedly going to get. Like there's no way Brady Tkachuk isn't going to be an all-star in the future. Whereas a guy like Drake Batherson isn't one of those blue chippers. Like he's a good prospect, don't get me wrong, but he's not like I don't even know if he's considered a prospect anymore. He's like actually like a roster player, but he's a good young player, but he's not like in that same tier as like a Timothy Stutzla or like a Brady Tkachuk, who's obviously the captain now, but like who's viewed as being like a perennial all-star. You know what I mean? Like these are guys that are like superstars in the league, whereas like Drake Batherson's going to be a nice top six forward going forward probably. So like this might have been his only chance at an all-star game, and it just sucks that he's going to miss it because Aaron Dell's a fucking asshole. You know, like
Literally, like most uncalled for things like I've ever seen.
and
It's just
it's again, it's like against a guy like Drake Batherson who's hasn't been in the league long enough to cause really any bad blood. Didn't get under your skin at all in that game. Didn't do anything to you, and was literally minding his own business when you hit him with a flying forearm. Like, so anyway, but that's more or less why I think like it sucks more to see Drake Batherson not there because it's like anything, right? Like you never know if you're gonna get back, but like
yeah,
specifically the All Star game when it's such a finicky system and nobody really knows
what the
what the
criteria
criteria
is.
exactly. So it's like you never know, and it's like so he may never get back here, and it just sucks because like the All Star game doesn't matter at the end of the day, but like you can always look back and say like I was an All Star. Like nobody can take that from you. You got to an NHL All Star game.
And I'm sure the boys just really enjoy it too, just getting to hang out, like play with, guys that you don't get to play with. I
Yeah,
mean, you
and like
play
just
against
hang
these
out.
guys all the time, right? But like just getting to hang out, like maybe I don't know, you get to walk out of your hotel room and play ping pong with Connor McDavid, or like go downstairs and get a bite to eat with like Roman Yossi, you know, so
And
like
it's like a lot of these.
guys that you don't see all the time playing on like the East Coast or West Coast, etc.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, again, we're probably gonna talk about this later, but I think it's something that could rectify something like that would be like bringing back the Young Stars game, but that's a whole other thing. So then you could get guys like Drake Batherson more of an opportunity to be playing, but anyway, yeah. So that's, I mean, who's Detroit's representative? You said Lucas Raymond, right? Or is it Dylan Larkin?
It's Dylan Larkin. I don't know
It is.
how it's not Lucas Raymond. And again,
Yeah.
not taking anything away from Dylan Larkin at all. The dude's an absolute
Okay.
animal. He's got 44 points. But again, it's also like, in
I
terms
think
of
this
just
is.
like, you know,
I. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I think this falls into like the thing we were saying before with Brendan Gallagher. Like this is the one that where they were rewarding Dylan Larkin. Like, listen, we know you've been really good for a while, and this Detroit team's been really fucking bad. So like, you're finally getting your due. But it's still like, bro, like, how do you justify putting him in over Lucas Raymond when Lucas Raymond's doing what he's doing at what 20 years old?
yeah.
So it's just like you expect Dylan Larkin to be good and to be at that level. You know, he's one of the elite centers in our game. It's just I don't know how you don't put Lucas Raymond in. Again, like not like a glaring omission, not uh
It's
like
not
this is
egregious, but it's like, okay, I would have liked
it,
to have seen it.
yeah, it's like come on. And even still, like when you replaced Drake Batherson with Brady Kachuk, why wouldn't you just replace him with? Or I guess that's the only Ottawa representative, so it had to be another Ottawa player, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like, the unfortunate part is, like, the Atlantic Division is kind of superstar stacked. So it's like, there's not really a lot of wiggle room there, you know?
Yeah, I mean
Like,
the real
you can't really argue against any of the other guys being here,
yeah the real issue with
except Nick
the
Suzuki, but,
Atlantic,
you know.
yeah, I mean the Atlantic All Star team is kind of always a crapshoot because like if it were just the best of the best, realistically only three or four teams from that division every year would be sending players because like they could fill an All Star roster themselves. You know, between the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Boston Bruins. So like I get it, but it's like it is still kind of tough. I don't know. This is the one though I will agree with you that like you can't argue with any of this because it's like what are you gonna say? Take Austin Matthews out for Mitch Marner? Like you're splitting hairs, you know?
Yeah. So we'll go over to the Central Division here. We have Kyle Connor, Alex DeBrincat, Nazem Kadri, Kirill Kaprizov. A lot of first-time All-Stars on this team. In fact, only three of the Central Division All Stars have ever been here before. So, Kaprizov, Clayton Keller, Jordan Kyrou, Joe Pavelski, Roman Yossi, Kale McCarr, UC Saros, and Cam Talbot. Uh, Roman Yossi is replacing the injured Nathan McKinnon, and Joe Pavelski is the team captain. The only people that have ever been here for the All Star game before: Clayton Keller, this is his second; Joe Pavelski, this is his fourth; and Roman Yossi, this is his fourth. Everyone else first time All Star. So Cam Talbot, cool to see. Kind of getting his due here.
Yeah, it's nice to
Kadri, I
see.
mean, how he wasn't an All Star in the first place is
Yeah.
kind of
Get
beyond
like
me.
can we get into that? Like how does the guy who was at the time when they announced the All-Star rosters fourth in league scoring not an All-Star? Like
Let me
I
pull up his
get it.
stats here.
They put he's still top 10 in league scoring. I just don't think he's that high anymore. At the time he was top 4 if not top 3 in league scoring. But how you don't
He's got
I know
60 points in 41 games. Like,
yeah.
Jesus.
I know the draw is always going to be to Nathan McKinnon because like he's the best player on the team, arguably the third best player, if not tied for the second best player in the league, you know? But like Nazem
Like,
Kadri's
come
not
on, man.
like what is the criteria? Like is it literally star power? Is it just star power that gets you into an all-star game? Like I don't know. Like it's so dumb. Like dude, like top 5 in league scoring, you don't even get like a nod like at all. You have to be the last man in. Your team's fans have to fight tooth and nail with every other fan in and every other team's fans in the division just to get you in. Like, come on.
He's got
Like,
19 goals, 41 assists in 41 games. And not to take anything away from Nathan McKinnon, but, if you look at, again, like I said, Nazem Kadri, to say it again, 19 goals, 41 assists in 41 games, 60 points. He's a plus 20. Nathan McKinnon has 9 goals, 34 point assists, 43 points in 31 games, is +5. I mean,
Kind of like night and day, right? Like,
and again, you guys know I love Nathan McKinnon. I'm not saying he didn't deserve to be there, but I mean, if he deserved to be there, then Nazem Kadri deserved to like be driving the freaking bus
yeah,
essentially.
like he deserved to be coaching the thing. Like, like I don't. That's the one that blew my mind when it happened. I was like, what? Like, how is Nazem Kadri not on this roster? Like, again, 19 goals. Like, he's in the top half of the league in goal scoring. He's literally like top half of the league in every offensive category, and you don't even doesn't even get nominated. Like, unreal, dude. And I guess, and I wonder, I was talking to my dad about this like a couple weeks back when the All Star nominations came out, and he made an interesting point that I didn't think about it. And I wondered if, like, because the All Star game at the end of the day is kind of like a popularity contest. It's like a star. It's like whose star shines brightest. Usually, always goes, regardless of whether they deserve to be there or not. Um, so like, I wonder if Kadri's reputation of being kind of,
A shyster.
yeah, not even like a shyster, just like being so unpredictable, because like he's shown he can play at this level before and play at a high level, but then there's like this part of him that like is the guy that gets himself suspended for 6 games in the playoffs,
Yeah.
twice in a row. So like, I wonder if there's something to be said for like that reputation preceding him, where like the league may not have said it out loud, but it might have been like a very open secret to be like, listen, like if he gets in, he gets in, but we'd rather him not be here, you know? So like they were like, we'll put him in the last man in vote if you guys, I don't know, I'm putting on the tinfoil hat, but like we'll put him in the last man in vote, because at least then the NHL has a shot to say we put him in, we tried, he didn't make it, he's gone. You know?
I mean, I'm certain that
I mean, I'm sure his
it
reputation
comes
played into it
down
to some
to
degree.
marketability, right? Like
Yeah.
who can the NHL market to people better? Come watch Nathan McKinnon, a guy that is like consensus top 3 in the NHL, right? Or come watch Nazem Kadri, a guy that like honestly, there's a good shot that really your average person, isn't gonna know him, right? Like your average person
Hmm.
might have even heard of Nathan McKinnon like offhand. Your average person not has no freaking clue who Nazem Kadri is. So it's the NHL just making a marketing decision if nothing else.
Which is frustrating because, you know, and I get that,
But then who?
but
But
it's
then
frustrating because like you can't make that argument when like Austin Matthews and some of the other biggest names in the game are here, and like you can already market those guys.
And it
You
also
know,
comes down to who's the All Star game for? Is it for NHL hockey fans, or are you trying to use this as a way to market the league? Like, is this not a reward for hockey fans and hockey players? Like, why
yeah,
should we be caring about marketing this thing?
and I mean that's really, I think that goes like deeper to the root of like what is the NHL's real intention with all these big events they put on every year, like the Winter Classic and the Stadium Series and the All Star Game. Like is it an actual like reward for these teams, or is it just a way for the NHL to like make more money and like I mean the cynical person would tell you it's just a way for the NHL to sell more jerseys and just get more TV revenue, It's an extra 2 days of uh an extra 2 days they can build into their contracts. But like I,
Which,
it
you know
feels like
what?
it's wrong to use the All-Star game specifically as a vehicle for new fans in a lot of ways, because like the All-Star game, like you said, is a culmination of like the whole season to this point. Like it's the culmination of these guys putting in the best effort and us showing off the best of our sport to that point, you know?
And the really the issue is I don't have any issue with the NHL wanting to make money as long as it's not at the expense of hockey fans. And realistically speaking, not having Nazem Kadri in the All Star game, it is at the expense of hockey fans because he's playing some of the best hockey in the entire league, right? So I don't mind you wanting to make money with marketing as long as you're not screwing over the fans, but also your players in the process. And you really almost completely screwed Nazem Kadri here. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, this would have been a monumental screw job had he not gotten voted in. Like,
I really just wish the NHL would just embrace the, I guess, absurdity of the All-Star game, and just let it be what it is. Because they keep trying to make the game like this big, huge, like event for like casual fans, and like you see it with the Super Skills competition, which is specifically directed at casual fans. It's fun for us as hockey fans to watch too, because that's my favorite part of the All-Star game every weekend,
yeah.
every year. But like it really is driven for casual fans because it's a way for us to say like, listen, like look, he's skating at 30 miles an hour. Do you not want to see him do this in a game? Look, he's shooting the puck 106 miles an hour. Like, because other sports don't have those. Like look at the biggest sports in sorry, the NHL notification just popped up.
I think, football used to have the super
Yeah.
skills competition, and baseball still has like
The
the home run derby and stuff like that. But
Right, but
I think in the NHL's defense, I will say this about the All-Star Skills competition. Not to derail you, I'm gonna get back to your point because I think it's a good one. But in the NHL's defense, a lot of the nuances and intricacies of what make the game so interesting are kind of lost on the visual experience. Like, you watch these guys and you can't really see that they're going that fast. You see the puck and you can't really tell it's getting shot that fast. So I think like the All-Star Skills comp is a good way to say, no, look, like they might not look like they're going that fast because the angle of the broadcast is so high, but these dudes are flying at 30 miles an hour, and you might be able to track that puck, but that's getting shot 106 miles an hour. That being said, I don't disagree with your point that this is something that they use for like marketing for sure.
I mean, listen, like if you're gonna use anything
continue.
for marketing, like obviously use the skills competition because like you said, it's showing people that like these guys are doing great things. But I don't know. Just to circle back to the original point that I was trying to make, it's just like I just don't feel like the All-Star game should be where you're trying to make up new fans. Because realistically, the All-Star game is not a jumping on point for a fan. Like there's no reason that you've gone completely ignorant of the NHL up until this year, February, usually January. Or no, it's usually February. So like in February, being completely ignorant from October to February, having no idea about the NHL, and all of a sudden seeing this and going, oh, this is dope, and then watching the rest of the season. You know what I mean? Because the All-Star game, like you said, isn't a good visual representation of our game because it's not how hockey's played.
Oh, if my first exposure to hockey was somebody sitting me down and watching the All-Star game and they didn't tell me it was the All-Star game, I think it's like the most boring sport on the planet.
I mean, even if you told me it was the All-Star game, like if you look at any other sports All-Star game, it directly resembles like the one-to-one with like the regulation play, Like they don't have a weird configuration for it. And I get why the NHL did it because having the 3-on-3 makes it a little more exciting. There's more chances, there's more goals. It's also less boring because there's more room, so guys are constantly able to do things. With that being said, like this is not an introduction point for anybody because one, the game is not a one-to-one representation of what goes on in a regular NHL game. Two, a regular NHL game is faster, more physical, and not at all like the All-Star game. Like that's essentially the point. It's not the All-Star game. So like, why the NHL is trying to use this as the platform to build new fans makes no sense. You'd think that you'd want to use like the Stanley Cup Final or like the Winter Classic, like these big regular season events where it's like you prop this up and it's like, hey, this is what this is what it looks like. This is our sport played at its best on the biggest stage. Not, hey, these are the best players playing pond hockey for 60 minutes. You want to come watch a regulation game where none of this happens and the game looks nothing like this?
Yeah, and we will be getting into solutions for that because I think I have something that not a solution to the one-to-one thing, but I think I have a solution that would just make the All-Star game better in general. But let's just go over the Pacific.
Yeah, sorry,
I
take a lot.
No, you're good. That's kind of what this podcast is about, really, just like taking things and running with it, So All-Star Division, yeah.
It's just the All-Star Division. It's just like Wayne Gretzky and like Mario Lemieux coming out.
So the Pacific Division, Leon Draisaitl, Jordan Eberle, Johnny Gaudreau. Johnny Gaudreau's been to 6 All-Star games. Jesus. Adrian Kempe, Jonathan Marchessault, Connor McDavid, Timo Meyer, Mark Stone, Troy Terry, Alex Pietrangelo. So the Pacific All Stars have one defenseman, John Gibson and Thatcher Demko. I think it's a pretty good pickup all around. I'm glad to see John Gibson's getting his due. I'm really glad to see Thatcher Demko's getting his due. Jacob Markstrom maybe kind of getting screwed a little bit here.
Yeah.
I can't really argue against either one of Gibson or Demko. Markstrom probably could have been there. Other than that, I mean, I don't really think anyone got like too screwed.
The real question is just like, are there really no defensemen in the Pacific Division that
Right.
you could have put on this
Right.
roster? Like, is Drew Doughty and Quinn Hughes not worthy of an All-Star nom? I mean, Quinn Hughes is whatever. He's probably going to get the opportunity to be in more, but like Drew Doughty's having a renaissance in LA. And I know we talked about this a little bit last week or whatever our halfway mark was when we were talking about teams, but you know, I don't know. Like when you have one defenseman on the roster, like why not give Drew Doughty the shot, especially when he's having one of the better years he's had in a very long time. You know, it just doesn't. It's just weird.
I mean, not for nothing. Quinn Hughes is a ninth in defenseman scoring, so
Yeah,
it's like you really couldn't have put him in and
over
maybe
a guy
taken like. I mean, I hate to say it. I hate to say it because like he deserves to be here, but do we really need to see a guy like Mark Stone be here or a guy like hate to say it, but like do we really need Leon Draisaitl here? Is missing one All-Star game gonna kill him?
yeah, and I mean, and could the LA representative not have been Drew Doughty instead of Adrian Kempe?
Kempe.
I mean, like, again, I know the whole point of the All-Star game is to score goals, but like, Drew Doughty does that. That's kind of like the only part of his game that's like still wholly intact is his offensive game. Like his defensive game has lapsed in recent years, but like the guy can still put up points and can still run a power play. Like he didn't lose any of that. So, I mean, you put him on the ice with Connor McDavid, and all he's going to do is give him easy passes up the ice and put up points. So, like, I don't understand why you'd pick Adrian Kempe. And again, like, Adrian Kempe is deserving of everyone's deserving of their all-star noms. It's just more or less some guys who are more deserving, I guess.
It's also weird having one defenseman because the like you're gonna have shifts where these guys have like obviously the other division they're also gonna have shifts where you have like a forward playing defenseman. Like there's gonna be like a lot of shifts where like people are just gonna have a shift where they're just like sitting at the point, like.
I mean, there's going to be times on the ice where there's literally 6 forwards on the ice playing against one another.
Which again, to your point, is like not even close to a representation of like what a hockey game is.
Yeah, and even still, like if you want to say like, oh, I mean, 3-on-3 has a place in hockey. They're 3-on-3 overtime. Yeah, watch any 3-on-3 overtime hockey game and tell me it looks like the All-Star game.
No actual self-respecting coach is not going to put a defenseman out on 3-on-3 overtime.
Right, exactly. Like look me in my eyes and tell me to my face that 3-on-3 overtime looks anything like the All-Star game in the way they play 3-on-3 here. 3-on-3 at the All-Star game is flying by the seat of your pants, high octane, push the play, always take risks. 3-on-3 in regular season is the most boring part of any game because nobody does anything. You just skate around with the puck and hope to maybe get a breakdown. Otherwise, the play is spent literally just circling the offensive or neutral zone waiting for something to happen.
3-on-3 is either the most boring or most chaotic part of any hockey game. You either get those 3-on-3s where nobody does anything, like you just said, or where both teams just don't care and they just do whatever
Yeah,
they
it's just
want.
fire wagon. Yeah, and
I
again,
actually kind of tend to think like this is a whole other argument, but I actually tend to think like 4-on-4 probably got us like more quality on average, more quality overtimes than.
Oh yeah, I mean I agree with you. When the decision, this is a tangent, but whatever, we're already here. When the NHL made the decision to go to 3-on-3, I felt it was a problem I felt it was a compromise of competitive integrity for viewership because they were tired of teams playing and going to shootouts because shootouts are bad for viewership. And it's like, yeah, so you don't like the shootout, you put the shootout in the game. The NHL had existed from 1917 up until 2005 without a shootout. Like, we've gone longer with it than we've had it. So if you really are fed up with it, why sacrifice the integrity of the overtime instead of just replacing the shootout with something else? Like instead of going shootout, you go to 3-on-3. Like, you know what I mean? Because I mean, I've always had a problem with the shootout personally, but whatever. That's whatever. That's a different argument for a different day. But again, like it's stupid.
Yeah, so let's talk about the All Star game in general. Obviously, I don't really think we need to talk much about the skills comp because I think we're both generally fairly positive about it. I mean, I enjoy watching it a lot. I think one of the things that I would like to see the NHL do more that they are doing this year that they have done in previous years is use this as a way to market other parts of our game that maybe don't get as much love. Like when they had the women. I think who was it? Brianna Decker, was it Kendall Coyne Schofield who
It
won
was
the.
Kendall Coyne Schofield was there last year, I believe.
And she was the one that won the speed skater competition, right? And then the
Yeah.
NHL tried like to not pay her because she like wasn't quote unquote officially in the thing. But then like all the fans rose a stink, so the NHL paid her the money that she was due.
Yeah, and they had Hillary Knight there, and Amanda Kessel was there too.
And they
For
did that women's 3-on-3 exhibition, which I thought was cool.
yeah, I thought it was cool. See, my only issue with them using the women the way they've been using them in the All Star game, and we've talked about this before, but like, I obviously have no problem with them being there. I think it's awesome that they're trying to incorporate more to the sport and like use this as a vehicle to get eyes onto other parts of the game, like you said. But it almost feels like sometimes they're kind of using them as like a token. It's
Because
like,
then they don't do anything after the All Star game to actually support them is the problem.
yeah, it's like, wow, look, the U.S. women national team is fucking sick. They're awesome. And then, like, when they're
You
playing in big tournaments, the NHL doesn't do anything to signal boost for them. I mean, the
and you
NHL didn't
also
do
can't like
anything for.
watch it ever.
Yeah, and the NHL did nothing. Like, they're like, wow, look at women's hockey. Look how exciting it is. And if anybody was like, wow, these women are really good at this sport, I want to watch more. Where can I watch more? It's like, well, there used to be the NWHL, but I mean, who the fuck knows what happened to that?
It's
I
now like
mean,
the PHWA, Professional Hockey Women's
yeah.
Association, I think.
So it's like good luck. Fine, like the NHL has done like so the NHL is doing this weird thing where like they're creating fans and trying to show like they keep using the example of like imagine being a young girl and not being and seeing these women on the ice and being inspired. It's like okay, great. Where's the follow up? You inspired this little girl and then left her with no options to follow up on this. Like, great, she's playing hockey, she's a fan, but like she can't watch Kendall Coyne Schofield play because I don't think the NHL has an obligation to obviously like host these things, but the NHL does a thing where they signal boost for it, but then don't tell you how to find more of these people. It'd be like us doing a collaboration with another podcast, and at the end them being like, yeah, check out these guys, and then just ending the podcast and not telling them where to find us, or
It
vice versa. You know what I mean? It's just like what?
My biggest thing really is that you can't really find what a, like watching women's hockey is like next to impossible.
Yeah,
Just
I
because
mean the
like
NHL Network hosts some of the games when they do like the big international tournaments, but like that only those happen every couple months. There's regular like collegiate, professional like women's hockey being played not just here but like in other parts of the world too, like in Europe.
and it's
So
also
like
like one of the issues where let's be honest here, most people don't really have cable anymore. So
yeah,
most people
like
don't have the NHL network. Like I have the ESPN Plus package because I stream the games, and you can't stream games that are on the NHL Network on the ESPN Plus package, so I can't actually stream any of the women's games that are on NHL Network. So thanks, but you didn't do anything because I can't watch them still.
right, and at least when the NHL had the partnership with NBC Sports and NBC Sports was using the NHL as like a vehicle for viewers, they realized like, oh, if we start broadcasting other hockey games, like they started doing some collegiate stuff and some women's stuff, they were like, oh, we can actually retain some of these fans. Like, if these people actually want to see more of this stuff. It's like, yeah. The NHL just seems to think like if they just put it in the ether, it's good enough to like help develop the sport. I know I'm harping on a little point, but it's just like it just feels so hollow to have them there and then to do nothing to help actually grow their game like outside of like the back end stuff that the NHL does that nobody sees. You know what I mean? Like whether it be like money or like development, like business development classes, who the fuck knows? But like point being like nobody sees that. All they see is you put these women in the All-Star game and then do nothing with them for the like literally have them don't even associate with them the rest of the year. Occasionally you trot them out in the playoffs during like during the playoffs, and you'll throw them in during an intermission to use them as like an interview, but you're not even interviewing them about that, like asking them about them. You're using them as an interview to talk about your sport. You know,
Yeah, I mean, there's things that need to be addressed in terms of like the overall picture.
that being said,
Certainly.
though, it is cool that they're there every year. I don't want to take away from that original point you made. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just think that like the skills comp is not really an issue. I think the majority of NHL fans either are like lukewarm or positive about it. I know a lot of people though don't really like the game itself, which needs to be addressed. And
I want to make one quick point about the super skills, though. That I think the reason people like it is because it's like the only time of the year you get to see the players' personalities. Like it's like the one time of the year it feels like the NHL embraces like the quirkiness or like the individuality of the player as opposed to like this uniform like professionalism the NHL presents across all its fronts throughout the rest of the year. So I think that's why a lot of people, that's why I like it specifically, because I like seeing these guys on the ice smiling, laughing, joking with one another, and like actually like seeing them be people, and not be robots playing a sport. So I think that's really like a big thing, like why a lot of people like it too. But that's like a random tangent. Sorry.
well, I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I think that's a big part of it. Just like seeing the guys just hanging out with each other, just shooting the shit, something that you don't normally get to see, I think is a big part of it. Um,
And they
they
also do
keep,
like fun things too, like let them bring their kids out and stuff. Like it's just nice to see them like embrace that like they're people and not just athletes at the All Star game at the skills competition.
yeah. Like I said, the real issue, honestly, in my opinion, kind of lies with the game because
Oh yeah.
I don't really even watch the game. I watch the game every year, right? I watch the All Star game every year, but it's not like the most exciting thing in the world. So I have some kind of crazy ideas on how to fix it. I'm curious to like if you have any, because obviously this is like some stupid thing I've been thinking about for a long time. Um, do you have like anything that like maybe you would like to see as far as like making the actual game itself better, or
I mean, I don't know if I have any change to like the actual game. The only thing I would want changed is the one player per team rule because I just think that's disingenuous to like the actual function of an all-star game. It's like rewarding the best of the best, but also still handing out like participation ribbons too. You know, it just doesn't really feel right, especially in like, I mean, these are professional sports. These are adults. Like, you lose at the end of the day. Like, it's not like you're dealing with 5-year-olds in like a little league baseball where like they have to give out participation ribbons. Like, the guy doesn't make the All Star game. He doesn't make the All Star game. It's whatever. But like, and if your
yeah?
team doesn't get a single representative in, well, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe just be better.
I mean,
Like
that's just purely a marketing decision by the NHL, certainly.
it's probably also. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of boardroom meetings between them and like the board of governors arguing back and forth about it. I'm sure the players' association had a big say in it too. But at the end of the day, like without having to actually deal with any of the legal wrangling of it and having to like actually go through the process, I would change that. That's
So
about it.
I have a crazy idea, and this is like literally never gonna happen ever in a million years. But if Gary Bettman called my phone and instead of asking about my car's extended warranty, it actually was Gary Bettman, and he was like, "Listen, I don't know what to do. Like, you're just do whatever the hell you want to the All Star weekend." Here's what I would do, right? Um, First of all, I would bring. You'd still keep the four teams, um, and then there would be two teams that you would have captains for, and then they would do the draft. Because I think the draft was so much fun. I loved watching that draft. That draft was hilarious. And
I mean,
also
the
the thing,
draft is the best part for a lot of people.
also the thing I like about the draft is you get to see guys play with each other that normally play only like twice a year. Like, sure, it's cool to watch all the Pacific guys hang out, but it's like they also play against each other like 4 to 6 times a year, right? So you're used to seeing Connor McDavid and like Timo Meyer on the same ice, right? As opposed to like the draft where you can get guys like Connor McDavid playing with like Matt Barzell, which would be like insane how fast those guys would be, right?
Yeah.
So I would have two teams of NHL players that were just drafted, and then I'd have one team that I'm not really sure what I would do with like this third team because I've been going back and forth. One idea I had was just like a fan voted team, just like let the fans pick a roster for one of these teams, which the NHL would never do after the whole John Scott thing.
Yeah, well, they literally they forced the Arizona Coyotes to trade him so he couldn't be in the All-Star game.
Like I would even be okay with them like picking the nominees or whatever,
And then just letting you vote on who actually, like, they give you the list and you just vote on the list.
And in the fourth team, this is where it gets nuts. Okay, this is where things get a little crazy. I would have a team called Team Future and Past, and it would be half the team would be players who are 24 and under, who are within their first 3 seasons in the NHL, right? So like freshmen to juniors, I guess you would consider them, under the
Right.
age of 24. And then the other half, you bring back alumni, and you bring back any alumni that wants to play. Doesn't really matter. Like you could like just stack a roster full of like alumni, so like they don't have to take long shifts during the actual game or whatever, right?
Right.
Um, and I just think it would be really, really cool because I think that would be a great marketing tool to get newer fans who are maybe just picking up the sport to recognize the idols of our game, right? Because you could bring back guys like the Sedins, right? Like recently retired players like the Sedins, and it would just be really cool. Like you stick the Sedins on the same ice as like Lucas Raymond, like the future of Swedish hockey with the past of Swedish hockey,
Yeah,
and
that would be cool.
I think you could market that as a way for like newer fans. Like if you're just looking at it from a marketing perspective, you'd be like, oh, okay, these are the twins, right? Like these are the guys that I've heard in passing about when people keep comparing these two brothers to like the Sedin twins. Like I didn't know who they were. Here's the Sedin twins, right? Or oh, who's on the ice? You get to pit Mo Sider out there with like Nick Lidstrom, right? Like the future of Detroit Red Wings defense with the past of Detroit Red Wings defense. And I just think it'd be like really, really cool to get like a mix of like these young guys that are going to carry the torch for years to come with guys that have done their part and carried the torch for the NHL for several years while they were playing. I think
The
that would be like really, really cool to like mix it up.
I think that'd be cool. I think since, like you said, like the NHL would never go for something like this,
No,
even though like
not in
it's
a
probably
million
way
years.
better than the regular All-Star game. And I really feel like if the NHL wasn't willing to go that far, like a nice compromise would be like a young stars team versus like an alumni team, you know? Like play that like the day before play it before the All-Star game on the same day, you know? But like at any point being able to like bridge the gap of like in the history of our sport when hockey's a sport that like built itself entirely on tradition and like the community itself values tradition so much, like it's like dyed in the wool, like you're a hockey fan, you fucking love tradition, like that's your thing. um like it'd be a nice way to like bridge it so you could, like you said, so you can see the history actually like on the ice in action. It's like, oh, that's, Brett Hull, that's, I don't know, like you said, Nick Lidstrom, or
Wayne
like,
Gretzky on the ice
yeah,
with Connor McDavid.
oh, that's Mario Lemieux. Like, yeah, sure, it's 61-year-old Mario Lemieux, but like it's Mario Lemieux, dude. Like, when are you gonna get the chance to see Mario Lemieux on the ice again? Never, unless you were a time traveler, you know? So it'd just be really neat. And like you said, like the futures thing is cool because it's like, yeah, you get a lot of these really neat, interesting. Like imagine they implemented this when Connor McDavid was in that age range, and like you said, you get Wayne Gretzky on the ice with Connor McDavid,
Yeah.
Mr. Edmonton Oiler on the ice with, the future Mr. Edmonton Oiler, probably gonna go down as the second greatest Oiler behind Wayne Gretzky at some point. I know I'm being a little presumptuous, but like, fuck it.
Like
Um,
the great one with the current best
or
player
the
in the
next one is
NHL.
what everyone calls him, right? Like, yeah, it'd be awesome. Or even like you get Austin Matthews in that age range. You could have Austin Matthews and like Jack Eichel on the ice with like Mike Modano, like the future of USA hockey with like the all-time leading scorer or previous all-time leading scorer in American history. Like it would just give you so many cool, and it would create storylines. Because isn't that what the NHL is looking for, right? At the end of the day, like the media and everyone's looking for storylines for these events, like the big things that are happening, like, oh, Ovechkin and Crosby are playing together for the first time after hating each other for so many years. It's like, okay, I mean, that's cool. I mean, like, yeah, it's exciting, but like, so to your point, it's like if the NHL is looking to market this thing, like this opens up a whole new like avenue of storylines and marketing to give to the game itself, you know?
And I think the players would really appreciate it too. Like especially the young guys, right? Where like if you're a rookie, it's your first year, you get elected to this All-Star game, and then like think about like if Spencer Knight, right, had got elected to the All-Star game this year, and
I
like
think
he
it's players
looks
like
down.
Patrick Waugh or something.
Yeah, I was gonna like he looks down the bench and who's there? It's like, oh, it's Ryan Miller, right? One of the best
Yeah, exactly.
American-born goaltenders to ever play the game. I just think it would make it would make the actual games worth watching because I would watch just to watch that team, honestly.
Exactly. And the other thing is, I mean, we saw with the World Cup of Hockey, just like a quick tangent, we saw with the World Cup of Hockey, the under 23 team was the most exciting team in the whole tournament.
Team
You
North
know?
America, yeah, that was sick.
Yeah. So like, where is it? What was I just say? And it's not like the guys don't appreciate it. I mean, you saw it in St. Louis when the All Star game was there, and they brought out all the former Blues legends like Brett Hall and God damn it, the other defenseman,
Al McInnes.
Al McInnes. It's like, dude, the place went nuts for that. I mean, granted, it was in St. Louis. These were St. Louis Blues legends, but like,
Nobody's gonna not cheer for like Wayne Gretzky.
yeah, dude, like you go to the All Star game not because you're a fan of your team anymore. You're at the All Star game because you're a fan of hockey. Like you enjoy the sport, and like I don't think anybody would be like, "Boo! I don't want to watch some of the greatest who have ever played ever." Like no, it'd be awesome. The fans would love it. The players would love it. I mean, you heard every time players do an interview where they get to interact with like the legacy players. You know what I mean? They love that shit. Like it's just like it's almost like a giant missed opportunity. It's like we were talking about with the Winter Classic. I don't know how many episodes ago back now, but like a while back we were talking about
The alumni
why they got
game.
away with the alumni game. Yeah, exactly. The fans loved that. Players liked it, and it just was like it was easy cash. Like you already had the venue, so like why not do it? You know what I mean? So the same thing can be said for these guys. Like you already have the venue, or you already have the All Star game, and if you already want to make it a wild spectacle, why not bring guys in who were legends, arguably? You know what I mean? It's like that would draw. I don't know how many. I mean, I don't care about the All Star game. Like you said, dude, I'd watch. I'd be like, oh damn, they got Wayne Gretzky on the ice. I got to see this.
And like you can't tell me that you couldn't get how let's see how big are these teams like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. You can't tell me that you can't like let's assume that they would pump up the future past teams numbers just because like the older guys want to take shorter shifts or whatever. Like you can't tell me you couldn't get at least like 6 to 8 alumni because you could get recently retired alumni to come back too, right? Like you get guys like who weren't retired all that long ago, like Jerome McGinley would come back, like Daniel Alfredson, like I said, the Sedin
Yeah,
twins, like Jaromir Jagr is technically retired from the National Hockey League. Like
I mean,
you can't
hell,
tell me you couldn't get 6 to 8 of these guys to be like, yeah, you know what, I'll go see them play.
and like again, the city it's in Vegas this year, right? So you wouldn't be able to pull an alumni. But if you wanted to put one caveat in that you had to have one hometown alumni for every All Star team, like every year, I mean, come on, dude. You could bring so many great players, so many great ambassadors for our game out. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you could put Borje Salming on the ice with Rasmus Dahlin, bro. Like, the first Swedish player to ever come and play in North America or break through in the NHL, not in North America, but in the NHL. And then you have the next big Swedish defenseman making his name in the NHL. Like, that's awesome. Like I don't know why, and I mean I know why the NHL wouldn't do it, but it's like it just feels like they're leaving money on the table. It's like, dude, this would be sick.
And
And again,
also because sorry, go ahead.
I was just say like I was just gonna reiterate, like if you're already making it a spectacle, why not go all the way and make it ridiculous?
And if you're just looking at this from a cynical NHL standpoint, if this is purely all about marketing, what's more marketable than your greatest players ever stepping on the ice, And another thing about it too, to my point with like, you know, giving new fans like some of the history and background, if the NHL is going to be so heavily predicated on tradition, if you don't know that tradition, you might feel like an outsider. But because think about it, like how many times when we watch the NHL entry draft, are they like, oh, player comparison, he's a Brett Hull kind of guy, or like player comparison, oh, he's like, I think I'm pretty sure last year at one point they compared one of the goalies like Ken Dryden, and it's like,
Yeah,
if you
if you
don't
have
know who
no
Ken Dryden
idea.
is, like granted, I don't think Ken Dryden would want to step on the ice at his age, but still, like if you're just getting into hockey in such a tradition steeped sport and you don't know these things, you're gonna feel like an outsider. But like if you're like, oh, okay, here's Timu Solani. I've heard about like this Finnish Flash. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he did. Okay, they put his name up. This is his face. These are his stats, right? What he did in the NHL. I
Right.
get
And you
it.
can be like, oh, or you can, and you can be like, oh, okay, so that's who that is. This is I've heard so much about him. Let me look into him. Let me see if he like. And you see him on the ice. You go, oh, let me see how he was in his prime. Let me see how he was when he was like, 20, 25. And then you see him break the all-time rookie goal record with 76 goals and all this. And you're like, wow, okay. And the other thing too that's cool would be cool is like, even if you don't say like, obviously like there'd be a bar for it, right? Because like you said, there's gonna be a certain echelon of guys that are too old to get on the ice. But it'd still be cool if the NHL brought them around and had them coach games. I mean, like we saw they put Wayne Gretzky behind one of the All-Star benches last year when one of the coaches had to step aside.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, why not stick like Ken Dryden and like, I don't know, somebody else, like another legend behind the bench. You know what I mean? Like a guy who's too old to play.
Like Dennis Potvin or something. Like somebody
Yeah,
who
or
can't
like
really skate anymore, but like he's still there.
wants to be a part of the event. And I mean, even like, and it seems it'd be even better because what was it, 2017 when the NHL announced their 100 greatest players of all time? Didn't they do it at the All Star game?
I think they
No,
did
it
number
was
10-1 at the All Star game. I think 90. I think 100 through 11. I think was announced, and I think the top 10 was at the All Star game. I could be misremembering that.
at some point during that year. I remember they put all 100 of those players on the ice together. Like they lined them up and like they had like a little ceremony for them. I think it might have been like, or whatever. But point being, these are the legends of our game. People love to see them, and they love to come out and like represent for their fans. Why, you know, they already want to give back to the community that gave so much to them. Like, why wouldn't you know you want to bring them in and just have them around? Like you said, for context more than anything too. Like, if you're going to use the All Star Game already as a vehicle to get new fans, why not use it also as a vehicle to provide those fans with some context for the sport? Because like
Also, you'd probably low key, if you just want to look at this from a money perspective, you'd probably low key sell more jerseys of the future past team than you would like any of these other All Star jerseys. Like,
yeah, dude, 100%. And the other thing is like, I just had a point I totally forgot. Oh well, it happens.
um, I don't know. I just think it would be really cool. I think it would take the actual All Star games, which for most hockey fans you watch because you like watching hockey, but you're not really going to be talking about it the next day all that much. You kind of forget about it very quickly. I think it would turn that into like must watch TV for any hockey fan, especially something when like you hear the next day people are gonna be talking about, like, bro, did you see Wayne Gretzky pass it to Connor McDavid? And you're like, wait, what? Hold on, timeout, pause. What are you talking about?
Yeah, be like, yo, did you see Wayne Gretzky and McDavid just absolutely dust that team last night? You'd be like, wait a minute,
I think
what?
like another little funny thing that they could do, um, is if they wanted to like lean heavily. This is like just a little gag goof kind of thing, but like for the accuracy shooting competition, they should have like they do a round with like the normal sticks, and then they do a round where like all these current NHL stars have to use like wooden sticks, like
Or like mini sticks.
like
How funny it'd be if they had to do like a breakaway competition only with mini sticks.
oh my god, it'd be brutal. I mean, I just think it'd be really funny to like gag it up a little bit. Like, yeah, okay, so we have Team Future Past here. They're representative for, and it'd be also cool because you could get these alumni guys to participate in the skills comp. Like, you'd have guys you could put like, hey, Brett Hull, you're in the accuracy shooting competition, as long as you're not like blackout drunk by the time it comes around.
Yeah, as long as you're not like on the mic screaming, "We went blues again."
I don't
Otherwise, like you
know.
got it, kid.
It would just be really cool. Like they showed the fastest skater competition, like McDavid's flying around the rink, and then they pan over to where you have like who's like a recently retired like superstar, somebody that like you pan over and like Henrik Lundqvist is like chatting it up with like Jacob Markstrom.
Yeah, something cool. I mean, that'd be all, dude. I would pay anything to see Henrik Lundqvist get on the ice again. And the cool thing about like,
Oh, I think we might have
where
lost.
like,
Oh no, you're good.
oh,
You're there.
oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, continue.
I would say it'd be cool, like if because you know at the MLB All Star game they don't now they have All Star jerseys, but like in the past they just wore the regular uniforms because like it's impossible to mistake like an offensive player for a defensive player in basketball or baseball.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool because like that team you could put those guys out there in like their regular uniforms, and not necessarily have to give them like an All Star uniform. It'd be cool to see them all rep like their regular colors again, because like then you put everybody else in the All Star jerseys and it's like oh well they're where like the All Star team would be all in white, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we just look around and all our jerseys are in different colors, but we're all in color, you know? So like the logistical aspect of it, I can understand not being like optimal for gameplay, like if you're looking for like the quality of the content, but like at the same time, dude, it's like you're gonna tell me you wouldn't want to see Daniel Alfredson in his Ottawa number 11 jersey one more time, or like Henrik Lundqvist rep the Ranger blue one more time?
Yeah, I just, I think it's a missed opportunity to market if you're just worried about marketing. I think it's a missed opportunity for new fans to put names to faces with these players that they hear about all the time. And quite honestly, it's a missed opportunity for every hockey fan because every hockey fan would absolutely love to see these guys get back out onto the ice. And like I said, you know, you can't tell me that there's not 6 to 8 guys who have either recently retired or retired a little bit ago, but are still in obviously not game condition, but like the NHL All-Star game, these guys are going like 25% anyway. So like you can't tell me that you can't get at least 6 to 8 of these guys willing to strap it up. And like honestly, even if you don't get like superstars, right? Like say one year for some reason like you can't get like a lot of these big names, you can't tell me that like Anson Carter wouldn't like just go out and skate with the boys again.
You can't tell me you couldn't get the spit and chiclet dudes on the ice.
Or like Kevin Weeks, just
Oh,
like
so I had an interesting idea. We can circle back to it after this. But yeah, like your point, like you can't tell me you couldn't get some of these dudes onto the ice to want to play, you know?
and you can adjust the ratio anyway. If you could only get like 4 or 5 alumni, you just put more young guys in a game.
Exactly. And if one year you have a weaker rookie class then or a weaker young guy class, then you get some alumni, you bulk up on that team and you hope for the best. You know? Uh so I agree with you. I think it'd be fucking awesome.
The other idea I had, which I think is where you're going with this, would be instead of that fan voted third team, um, I was thinking of just like having a team of like just like regular people, like influencers, like hockey influencers,
Yes.
and
That's
like
exactly what I was going for.
get like
Yeah.
Nasher and like the on the bench guys, like Beer
Yep.
League Bender and what's his face, like Kane Van Gate,
Yep. And what Coach Jeremy and all those guys.
How
Yeah,
to
dude.
Hockey and stuff like that.
Those are the first two I thought of. I was like, dude, imagine you can get Nasher and Ollie and Jacob on the ice together. That would be so funny. And like you let Nasher film it, so he's his GoPro. Isn't Nate Nasher skating around the game with a GoPro on? Like that'd be awesome.
You
I
could
would
honestly even
totally love
add
to
them
see
in as
that.
like a fifth team. Like you just do like you let team past and future get a bye in the first round, so the old guys don't have to play as many games, and then you
Right.
just have like the NHL team A play. What was I gonna say? NHL team A play like. Wait, no, am I doing the math wrong? No, because it would be who the heck what?
It'd be the two NHL teams you drafted, the third unnamed team we haven't figured out yet. Fourth, the old guys, the young and old guys, and then the influencers. So you could like
Right,
get
right, right,
them to
right, right. Yeah,
buy,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then
So you'd have
on
like NHL Team A play like fan vote team, and then like NHL Team B play like the influencing team, or, like the influencers.
yeah, and even like if you don't want, and say you can't get enough influencers, right? Or you don't want to use the same, bro, you can just use celebrities. Like everybody is a quote unquote influencer now. And like there are plenty of celebrities that love hockey and come to a bunch of games. Like Vince Vaughn has been to a bunch of games. You could put Justin
I was gonna
Bieber
say
on the goddamn
JB.
team. Like Justin Bieber would play. I'm sure you could get Drake onto the ice, bro. Drake comes to I don't know how many Toronto Maple Leafs games. The guy's from Toronto. You can't tell me he doesn't skate. You know? Like there's no reason you can't do something cool like that. And you're gonna tell me Nasher is gonna say no? I can hear his voice in my head right now going, "Oh yeah, dude, it's gonna
Let's
be
go.
sick." Yeah,
I
dude,
mean, you could
exactly. You get
even
like
if you like
Tactics HD and stuff. Like, come on.
even if you didn't want to use them for like the game, you could just like throw them in some of the skills competitions.
Yeah, dude, like why wouldn't you have Pavel Barber in the shootout competition? That dude pulls off some of the sickest moves online. And granted, they're all trick shots and like, so I don't know how good he'd be in a game setting, but like, dude, you put him out there, you try it. Let Nasher go out there and try the fastest skater and see how he does, Like You let Ollie and Jacob go out there and do something. Like you put them in like the stick handling competition and let them see what happens. You know, you see Ollie and Jacob trying to sauce passes into like the stupid little nets, and like
Jacob, hit the net, bud.
they skate to center ice. Jacob, what are we doing today?
Jacob and Ali are the only participants in the hardest hit competition.
Oh my god, bro, that'd be awesome.
They just destroy each other for
they put
20
them in
minutes.
Dude, it'd be awesome if they put them in like the hardest hit competition and they put them in like the those big inflatable sumo outfits.
Yeah.
They put them in something like that so like they don't get hurt and they just take turns like skating at them and they just skate at each other and it was like, oh my god, that'd be awesome. See, just see who gets knocked down whoever gets knocked down the most loses in 60 seconds. So the two of them just skate at each other and you have to stay inside like the face-off dot at center ice, like inside the logo.
And I just think, this also would serve a really good point for marketing, right? Because, yes, the NHL wants to grow the National Hockey League brand, right? But there's also something to be said for people that watch, roller hockey or deck hockey or, beer league ice hockey on YouTube who find these really likable personalities first. And then they're like, okay, let's check out hockey in general, right? And then that would lead you to the NHL. And like grassroots like content creation is a big way that the NHL markets. Or not even at the NHL market. Like it's a good way to market the sport.
I mean, you can see the synergy between the two just in the fact that Nasher did a series of videos where he live streamed with NHL. He did one with Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. He played with Kirby Doc. So it's not like these guys have nothing to do with the NHL. You know what I mean? Like Nasher is an NHL video game, but an NHL content creator. His whole brand is around the NHL itself. Like if the NHL didn't exist, Nasher wouldn't have a following, you know? And it's like, so it'd be a nice symbiotic relationship for them where it's like Nasher gets the exposure of being involved in the NHL All-Star game and NHL fans get to see a personality that they've probably already pretty familiar with, like you said, because either A, you already liked hockey and you went out and sought content that fit that mold and Nasher happened to be the guy you found, or like whoever, or you found Nasher and were like, wow, he plays hockey, that's pretty neat, and then you went and found the NHL.
Also, sorry, go ahead.
It's not like the NHL hasn't done this before. I mean, Ollie and Jacob have a whole series of videos with the NHL, like on the NHL YouTube channel.
Yeah. And also, the NHL, one of the big things that the NHL is always kind of harping on and saying is like we need to get more people involved in the game, right? We want more people playing hockey. We want to grow the sport. What's a better way to get more people to play hockey than getting these names out there, right? Like specifically Nasher, right? We'll take Nash for example. He plays roller hockey. Roller hockey is a much more accessible and cheaper brand of hockey, right? Because the equipment, generally speaking, is a little bit cheaper. Not by much, but it's a little bit cheaper.
You can get away with less equipment is the big thing.
The fees are a little bit cheaper. It's easier for more people, specifically in the United States, to pick up rollerblading than it is for skating. Like especially when you get into like the South and the Midwest. Like these influencers are key in growing the sport, right? Not in the NHL brand, but like the sport of hockey, because they see Nasher posting his roller hockey videos. It's like, oh, dude lives in Columbus, Ohio. It's like, I live in like Tucson, Arizona. There's no ice around here. I can rollerblade. Let me pick up rollerblading and let me go play roller hockey. And then you're involved in a sport. And then guess what? The natural progression of you being involved in a sport is you watch NHL hockey, right? So, yeah. I don't know. I just think it's like a missed opportunity that we're not promoting these kinds of things.
Yeah, like I said, it's like a nice symbiotic relationship. Like, I don't know why. I mean, the NHL is not shy about having a relationship with content creators. Like, they do it all the time. It's just weird that they haven't extended it to the All-Star game. I mean, I know Nasher's at the... We keep talking about Nasher, but, like... Sorry, I'm a big fan. Whatever. But, like, I think he's at the All-Star game this year. I don't know if he got invited or he bought a ticket or whatever. Point being, like, he's already there. Like, these guys already show up to these events. Like, why not just bring them to the event? Make them the event. You know what I mean? Like, Nasher's got... He's got what? I think he's got almost 1 million subscribers.
He just passed 500K the other day. He's on 640,000.
Okay, so even still, that's a significant number of people. Dude, 600,000 people. Let's put round numbers, right? Say like you have a 10,000 seat arena and 600,000 people. That's that. You filled that arena 6 times. 6 times?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say 60, but that'd be 6 million people. Yeah, like that's ridiculous. Like, You sold with Nasher alone. If every single person who watched Nasher wanted to buy a ticket, which obviously isn't the case, you'd have that's bro. That's 10. That's 6 sellouts in a 10,000 seat arena. That's not nothing.
And again, it helps to grow the game in like quote unquote non-traditional hockey markets also because like Nash is from Columbus, Ohio, right? Beer League Bender plays in California. His team is literally called the Tropics. Like,
Yeah, he's from LA.
it's not really a traditional hockey market, but people might see his videos and be like, "Oh, I live near there. Ice
I
skating
mean,
looks like fun. Let me pick this up. Oh, I like ice skating. I'm gonna try to play hockey. Oh, I like hockey. I'm gonna watch the NHL." Right?
exactly. Like Kane Van Gate's the same way. Kane Van Gate's from St. Louis. St. Louis has like obviously a hockey community, but it's not a traditional hockey market. You think of St. Louis, you think of the St. Louis Cardinals, you know?
And I
So
think
it's
it would
like,
also be good for these guys to give back to them a little bit. Because, like, think about it. If we talk about Trav Oilers, right? Trav Oilers is still chasing the dream of playing professional hockey overseas in Europe. Like, you can't tell me he wouldn't, like, borderline cry tears of joy from just being on the same service as the NHL players for, like, the 20 minutes that game goes.
yeah, you can't tell me he wouldn't appreciate what it means to be there. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe the NHL Trav is an interesting one because like I don't know if the NHL want to get associated with him. Oh, he's not really like he was anymore. So yeah, no, it's whatever. I just remember Trav always getting into fights, but that was like way back.
Yeah, his recent content, like he's kind of realized he can't be getting into scraps every 10 seconds as a goalie.
But like to your point, it's exactly like it's a dude that would appreciate it. Like, and the other thing is like to give back to them. It's like not for nothing. Like these content creators realistically do a lot for you with for no reason other than a lot of times just the satisfaction of doing it for themselves. Like they make these videos, they build these communities, and these communities go on to either enjoy NHL hockey, buy NHL hockey jerseys, buy game day tickets, like do any number of these things. It'd be nice that the NHL just to recognize them and say like, hey, we appreciate you doing what you do, not for us, but you doing what you do does help us. So like here, like
It's for the
you
love
know,
of the game.
yeah, like here, come celebrate with us. Here, like the All Star game, the way the NHL builds it is like the celebration of hockey every year. It's like this is the celebration of our sport. These are the best stars. So why not bring like some of the biggest like those people in? And it's like yeah, it's a celebration of hockey. So here are the people that have helped to grow hockey the most, or not the most, but like some people have helped to grow hockey a lot in the last decade or so with the growth of the internet and like YouTube culture specifically.
And I mean, it's not like you have to pay these guys to be there. You're not giving out like all-star bonuses. Like obviously, hopefully, a multi-million dollar corporation like the NHL would like pay for these guys' flights and hotels.
Yeah,
But
that's really
I'm
it.
almost
Like
positive that they would do it anyway, even if they were paying for
yeah, dude, if you
it.
called Nasher and just said, "Hey, we just need you on. We have your plane ticket. We have your hotel room. We literally just need you on this plane tomorrow at this time to be in the NHL All-Star game."
He would be
He'd
on a
be
plane
at the
already.
airport. Yeah, exactly. He'd be at the airport as you hung the phone up with him. He would like time travel. Like you'd hang the phone up. It'd be like a movie, like it's a split screen, like Nasher on one side and like the NHL exactly on the other side talking, and then the NHL exec would hang the phone up. The camera would go full screen, and Nash would be standing behind him, like already there, like I'm ready. You know.
And if we're just like spitballing ideas at this point now. Even if you didn't want to include these guys in the games, you could have like an influencer tournament where you have like Beer League Bender bring out the Tropics and play against Nasher's Columbus Heat,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
like Kane Van Gates and our Rebels come over and play.
Yeah, like
Like
why not? Like it would just be fun. And then you could have like other people from the community who maybe don't play but are big hockey content creators like doing the commentary. It would just be fun. Like that's really what the All-Star game should be, right? At the end of the day, like it should boil down to being fun. Because like the rest of the year, the game is so serious and so intense because like there's stakes. This is the one game of the year where there are zero stakes. Maybe other than like the first game of the season, this is like the game with the least amount of stakes on it. So why not just make it fun for everybody, you know?
yeah. So, do you have any final thoughts on? So okay, not, before I get that, obviously, so I take it like you're on board with my crazy
I think
ridiculous
your idea, I
tinfoil
think
hat
your
ideas.
reimagining would definitely make it would accomplish like Okay, so the reason I think it's a good idea is because it accomplishes the NHL's like stated goals, right? It makes the game marketable. It expands like on a viewer base. Like it makes it more. It turns it into a spectacle. It makes it more of something people want to watch. Like it turns it into like our Super Bowl, which it should be. You know what I mean? Because the NHL doesn't have a Super Bowl. The Stanley Cup Final isn't anything like that, and like the Winter Classic, even though they tried to make it the Super Bowl, isn't that. This realistically could be like the Super Bowl. It could have like a fucking halftime show and everything, dude. You could have like they build a stage at center ice, they wheel it out, and they have a Vici come out and DJ a set, and then wheel the thing out and play another game. Like it'd be sick, you know. The whole thing would be awesome. Like so, yeah, I'm on board. I think your idea is sick.
So NHL, if you're listening, I know you're not, but if you are, and if any influencers are listening, not that, I'm trying to shout. Like, obviously, listen, like, obviously, shout out to all the guys we mentioned today. We're fans of them. We do watch them. So, if any of you guys are listening and maybe you want to like start throwing some ideas around, gonna get in
Or if
trouble.
you
The
happen
NHL is
to,
gonna be like, no more lighting the lamp podcast, cease and desist. Like,
yeah, right. Like, or if you guys are listening and you want to come on and do like a little, shoot the shit with us about hockey. Hey, what are we to say
absolutely,
no?
I would have anybody, any of the ones that we mentioned today, plus more that we didn't mention. So, yeah. So I guess next week we'll be back to more like regular season stuff, more hockey, quote unquote. More.
Back in the trenches, as they say.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you're watching the games tomorrow, I hope you enjoy the games. Unfortunately, like I said, this won't be up in time for the All-Star Skills Comp, but that starts in 30 minutes. So I'm going to go get myself some ice cream and sit down and watch some nonsense. Some of the stuff that we're seeing, I don't know if you saw this, Steve. This looks absolutely frigging ridiculous.
I saw the
I don't know what this is, but like this looks insane. So, yeah.
What is that?
So who the hell knows? It's in Vegas. It's gonna be nuts. But yeah. So, guess we'll just sign off for now. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys again next time.